On the Wall is brought to you by Milton King, the trusted partner for exquisitely crafted luxury wall coverings. Milton King's trade program is designed to make your creative process seamless, providing special trade-only benefits including complimentary sampling, early access to new collections, and exclusive pricing structured to enhance your business success. To assist with your projects, you'll have the flexibility to curate your own custom swatch book, tailored specifically to your design needs. With dedicated customer support every step of the way, our trade program is here to elevate your design vision and simplify your journey from inspiration to installation. Ready to join a partner who understands your craft? Visit miltonandking.com to apply for your trade account today. Milton & King, your vision, our craftsmanship. Welcome to Milton & King's On the Wall podcast, where we engage in conversations with artists, designers, and more. Today we see the return of artist Bethany Linz to discuss the latest wallpaper collection, My Sydney. If you enjoy this conversation, please take a moment to subscribe and leave us a rating and review. Hi, Bethany.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It's been such a long time since I've spoken to you.
I know. What is it? 2 years?
It's been about 2 years.
Wow.
You were our first episode
I
1.
was, wasn't I? Oh, that's amazing, wasn't it?
And it's by far our most downloaded and listened to episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's cool to be talking to you again.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
And yeah, so if anybody wants to hear lots of background, they can go to episode 1 and they'll hear all about Bethany and where she's from and all that good stuff. But what's been going on the last couple of years with you? What have you been up to?
So much. Well, I had my third baby, so busy there.
Wow.
Yeah. But also busy just starting my own products. So products like tote bags, silk scarves, jewelry line, like showcasing all my designs that have done really well with Milton & King. So I thought, what else can I use them on? And I've always wanted to do a tote collection.
Uh-huh.
So I think I've done 4 or 5 now, just fine tuning the designs. And yeah, they're doing really well. So I'm really busy with Shopify, and it's exciting.
So that's really cool. So are you you say Shopify? So are you selling them yourself from your own site?
Yeah, selling them directly. All through my own site. So it's full on, really full on. But it's exciting. I love it.
And that's BethanyLinz.com or
.com. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And
yeah,
I do sell directly to the US too. So
oh, great.
I know lots of your listeners are from the US. So
yeah,
there you go.
Well, we get
doing really well.
We get a lot in Australia too, so domestic shipping will be good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did check out your Instagram, and I saw we're about to talk about your new collection, and one of the designs I've seen on like bracelets and things, and
yeah,
I thought, wow, that's so cool. So is that a like fairly recent development?
The bracelets or the collection?
No, the tote bags and the bracelets, and these are the products.
Well, I started the tote bags and silk scarves mid last year.
Okay.
And just a tester, and they did so well that I just kept on going. And I thought, I've always wanted to do cuff bangles. Why not try and put my designs on them?
Yeah, they look so good.
Thank you. So yeah, I've invested in a really beautiful company that does beautiful enamel work, enamel and gold. And one of my latest designs, the Milky Way, so stars, are featured on the bangles and bracelets and earrings, different necklaces. So it's really exciting.
Well, we'll get into the Milky Way design, which is one of the new ones, in a minute. But yeah, there'll be if someone wants to match their bangles and bracelets and tote bags with their wallpaper, they'll be able to do that.
Exactly.
Very cool look. That's really great. So since you're doing Shopify and you're sending them out yourself, it's like you're actually having to kind of run that whole business then, right? You're having to worry about
it's exhausting.
Shipping.
Worry about stock, where to put the stock. So much of it. Shipping, Facebook ads, Instagram photo shoots, It's a
Wow.
lot, but I love it. It's all creative work, except for this, fighting storage.
Right.
But everything else is so creative. I love it, and it's any challenge as well, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably just have to tell the tell your family, don't go in this room. This is where the boxes are.
Yeah, I just like shut the door. Don't look in that room, please. Don't look in that room.
Tell me it's not the room that you used to create.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it
It's
is.
just
Okay.
yeah. But I have a
See.
storage unit too, so it's all good. Most of the
Okay.
boxes are there. Yeah.
Because boxes don't necessarily make for the best creative atmosphere.
No, and so many people are like, oh, I'd love to see your studio. I'm like,
Not at the
yeah,
moment.
no, not at the moment. Not around Christmas time. I mean, I have my beautiful chinoiserie wallpaper, the spring
Hmm.
landscape. It's gorgeous. It's all around me, but yeah, I can't see
Yeah.
much of it right now due
How
to
funny.
stock.
Well, I would love to get into your new collection. That's the main crux of what we're going to talk about in this
Hmm.
episode. So first, is the collection is called My Sydney? Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
So I feel like probably the title is self-explanatory, but if you want to kind of dive into a bit of why it's called My Sydney, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I haven't been able to travel lately, and I think just being, I mean, it's Sydney. You think about Sydney. I don't know how many people have been to Sydney who are listening, but it is probably the most beautifully situated city, like where it's on the harbour, like in the world. You have like everything you need within a city, but you can also just go down the road and go to the water's edge in the harbour, and it's aqua water. It's like a paradise. It's just gorgeous. Like I took my kids and my husband to one of our favourite places, Redleaf, the other day, and we walked through like $40 million houses to get to it, little footpath through pink bougainvillea, and then all of a sudden there's all these boats and aqua water and beautiful sand, and we're only a few bays away from the CBD. It's just ridiculous. So we
yeah,
don't really. It's good. We don't really have to go on holidays living in Sydney. We're so lucky. So there's so much inspiration around me all the time. So,
hmm,
like for example, going to the shops across the road, we have a beautiful Victorian tram shed turned into like a place where there's lots of cafes and supermarkets. So I just go across the road to get all my groceries. But on the way, you go over this water canal that's connected to the harbour, and it's full of life. Like you see jellyfish in there, fish, and beautiful crane birds. They're just stunning. You see them get the fish. So that's where I got one of my other designs from.
hmm,
Um, and there's other things like just the wisteria on my house, just simple things. Getting inspired for a floral, wisteria floral, from the vine that's going right over my front door. So I just went to a collection that is all about, I guess, where I'm from and what I see. Most people probably don't see little things that I see because I'm a designer and I see beautiful things within, regular things.
hmm,
Um, but yeah, I just wanted to do a collection that was based around where I live and what I see within where I live. That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. I mean, you've definitely in previous collections you've celebrated Australian flora and fauna before, but this one is
Hmm.
much more localized to, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
and
your
the
daily
thing,
life.
yeah, my daily life, and it doesn't look Australian, and that's another thing. Like Sydney, I'm not surrounded by like Australian botanicals all the time. We do have a lot of other botanicals that have, come from England and Europe. So it's not just about Australian flora and fauna. It's just about my world where I live and my Sydney and what I see.
Right. That's great. So yeah, let's dive into some of these designs more specifically, because I was going to ask you some general questions, but just judging by, there's a couple of different, it looks like a couple of different art styles, and
Hmm.
so I'm not sure if the question I should ask is I should ask it now at the outset or while we go through the designs. Maybe I'll ask it now. Just
Yeah, sure.
maybe you'll surprise me.
Yeah.
Um, but so, was there a specific technique that you tended to use for all these designs, or are there
They're
some
all
designs?
they're all
They're all different.
different, aren't they? Yeah.
So that's what
So
I thought. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the water birds and the wisteria design, I kind of kept with that chinoiserie kind of technique, watercolor, brush strokes, just keeping it simple but elegant and beautiful,
Hmm.
and not too much color either. I kind of wanted to keep it simple, not too full on. I guess the designs are quite busy, so I don't want to overdo it with color. So I really wanted to pare that down. Then let me think. the Milky Way one, that was mostly done in Photoshop
Okay.
because painting stars is impossible, the sharp edges. So that's all about layering textures and making it look aged and something that looks like it's from an old abbey. There's an abbey up the road from us. It's so beautiful. And we went and had a look on an open day because someone lives in it now. And I remember walking through the foyer and looking up, and there was the most beautiful star ceiling. And it was aged, but it just still looks so beautiful. I'm like, one day I want to capture that. So that was also the inspiration behind the Milky Way design. But also it was inspired by my experiences growing up just outside Sydney in the mountains. My parents own a property on the river. And as children, we used to go and sit around the campfire. No TVs up there, which is fantastic. So it was all about dark skies, sitting around the fire and looking up at the shooting stars and seeing how many we could count. And the stars, when you're out of the city, are so bright and beautiful. You forget they're there when you're living in the city. But when you go out, it's just so magnificent. So that also inspired that collection. I wanted to kind of create something that kind of was inspired by my childhood and the magic behind those beautiful stars that I used to look up at.
Yeah. So when you so there were some that were created inside Photoshop, and you were mentioning how I guess it's because you said the edges were sort of so sharp that
So
actually
sharp,
hand painting
you can't
is
paint them, no.
it would
I
be
can't
hand
even,
painting would be a bit more
yeah.
just not
It's just
as
more in soft
neat.
edges and everything. You want it to neat. And I can't
Yeah.
even draw. I find it really hard drawing stars, really hard, because they have to be so perfect.
Yeah.
And flowers don't have to be. They can have round edges, they can be blobby, and really doesn't matter. But with stars, they really have to be sharp and symmetrical and perfect. So I did that within Photoshop. But what I also did with that design, which I love the end result, is I created it when I was also creating the jewelry line that was linked to that the Milky Way design. And I put little diamantes in the bracelet in the stars. So I thought, I wonder how that would look in the wallpaper. So I added some diamonds within the wallpaper, and it just looks beautiful. And it prints out just so lovely. I'd love to actually see it soon on your new machine that's going to have metallics.
Yeah.
That will look magic. So we'll wait and see.
Right.
That's going to happen soon, I hope. But yeah, I love it. It's just the end result's really beautiful with the little stars.
Okay, so before we get to the other ones, then I'll sort of stick on this one. So the design is called the Milky Way,
The Milky Way, yes.
and it's one of 8 new designs, 7 or 8, depending on how you count one of
Yeah,
them.
how you can it, yeah.
And so, and it has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colorways. I think the one that I liked the most was the night sky.
Yeah,
Had that
it's
just that
beautiful.
gorgeous bluish background with the
Yeah,
gold.
with the gold. That's probably the
Yeah.
one that looks the most old as well, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
something you can really imagine in an abbey initially. It's just, yeah, I love that colorway too. Yeah, I had the black with the gold, and I thought they're too similar. And adding the silver to the black, the silver stars, is just fresh and it's a lot more contemporary.
Yeah.
And I can really see that in a kid's room too. I think they look beautiful.
Yeah.
The charcoal.
So yeah, so the charcoal, I guess that would be the silver. Right, that's the black background with the silver stars, and the night sky is the dark blue with the gold. Most
That's
of the
right.
other ones have like gold stars with the different color backgrounds, right?
Yeah, the green I did with silver.
Okay. I'll move on to the one that's 1 or 2 designs depending on how you look at it. So it's Water Birds or Grand Water Birds, which is basically it's not exactly the same design, but it's fairly close.
Yeah,
One
it's the same
obviously one
design,
is
but one's just double the size because I love
double the
big.
size.
I always go big. And
Yeah,
Milton King like, maybe you should go small. I'm like, can we do both? So
I
there's
love the
both
big one.
options. Oh, me too.
I love the Grand Water Birds. That
Mm.
looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Um,
so any thoughts about this design? Obviously, you
so
mentioned how
this
you
is the
were
one that was,
inspired.
yeah, this is the one that's inspired by the birds just down the road in the water, like catching. It's also inspired by Chinese birds, where they paint birds. I've always just thought they're so elegant and beautiful, and I love painting birds. But yeah, just the birds down by the water, they're just stunning, and catching fish and all the dragonflies that come out early spring, and the reeds. we don't have beautiful rocks like that, unfortunately, in the design. But yeah, it's pretty much all inspired by down the road, but then I get inspiration by Chinese murals and chinoiserie.
Yeah.
And then that one was all hand painted on a large scale by hand,
Okay. Hand painted
just
it.
in white.
Was it the
Just hand painted
gouache?
with, yeah, the gouache, yeah, just
Oh,
white
gouache. Sorry.
gouache, yeah, white gouache on paper. I think it's the Stonehenge paper, and I like to use like a beige color so you can paint white over the top. And then once that was done, I did a few different paintings. I then scanned that into Photoshop. I take a photo with my phone actually, and then upload it and Photoshop them all together. And that can take a while getting the repeat right. Um, yeah.
So let's say you're drawing the water birds design, and you're going to take a picture of it on your phone,
Mhm. Which is
and
hard. You got to make sure you get the right lighting and a good
yeah.
phone. Yeah, good camera. Sometimes if they're too big, I've mentioned before, I take it to someone who does it professionally. Like she's amazing.
Well, yeah, you
She'll do
mentioned that
big
on the last
files.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. I think with this one, I just did it myself. And I just then Photoshop bits and pieces together. Because I did some of the birds separate. And then I did some of the reeds separate. And I just overlaid them.
Okay, so like, is there somewhere like in your house, is there an original,
Yes.
like a repeat or something of this
Yeah,
design?
yeah. It's all upstairs in my filing cabinet, which is
Okay.
a huge like industrial drawers. I used to call it my third child, the drawer set, 'cause I always wanted one. But then I had my third child, so maybe I call it my fourth child. It just keeps everything flat and safe,
Yeah.
and yeah, stored well.
So
Yeah, all my original designs are up there.
so for this Waterbirds one, what is the actual size of the painting that that you worked on, the original?
It would be an A1 size paper, so the birds they're pretty big. I've got to get them big so I pretty much painted them almost, or maybe not to scale for the large one, maybe a bit smaller. But I want to be able to get all the detail in so I can
Hmm.
make it as big as I want or can make it as small as I want. If I paint it too small, I can't get the beautiful detailing that I want and the
Yeah.
watercolor like coming in and out very nicely. So I work pretty big.
So are you painting just the bird, or are you painting the whole repeat?
Uh,
Like, are
I
you painting, you know what I mean? Are you
I
painting and
no,
then
not
layering them?
yeah, and not what people probably think of repeat. I know in my head roughly how it's going to look,
Yeah.
so I'll just paint all the bits and pieces, and then I'll plop them into Photoshop in different. They're probably in different photos, and then I cut them out and I place them into a different file with all of them in together, and then I play around with them.
Okay.
I very rarely paint in a perfect repeat because my
Gotcha.
images they're not a noticeable repeat like a mirrored repeat or a half drop like geometric. They're very organic, so I never know exactly how it's going to look until I use Photoshop and plop it all together. That makes sense.
Okay. So for in this so in this Waterbirds one, there's like, it looks like some vegetation kind of like popping out of the water.
Yeah, there's some
Um,
rocks which I got inspiration from Chinese chinoiseries. You can kind of see that kind of Chinese inspiration there, and the insects as well are very Chinese, even though they're the same insects that we found across the road.
yeah.
Um, there was I saw them in a Chinese watercolor. I'm like, oh, I've got to do that. It's so beautiful. So I added them as well, and it just kind of makes it look like it's a beautiful ecosystem with insects
Yeah.
and birds. And I didn't add fish, but that would have been a bit tricky doing that underwater. Maybe next
Yeah.
time.
No, but it's gorgeous. So you're saying like you're painting the actual vegetation separately from the bird and then layering it in there.
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I think I did the rocks, and then I did the vegetation with the rocks, and then I did a few different versions of like the reeds, and then put them in. And some
Wow.
of them, if you look carefully, some of them are the same, but they're just like mirrored, and you can reuse it and mirror it. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, instead of painting 10 different reeds, I probably did three and just kind of changed them a bit.
Yeah.
Saves time.
I was when I was looking at the Grand Water Birds one, which like I said, I love the scale of this.
Mhm.
I really love the gold
Oh
background with the
yeah,
white
you know
birds.
they almost cut that one because they
Oh,
thought it was
really?
too busted, and I described it as that's actually the first time I used the gold leaf for the
Oh.
background, the texture, because you kind of see lines in the background and kind of like a tiling almost texture.
Hmm.
And when they got that, like, oh, I see that now. Yeah, definitely keep it because I've always wanted to use like a gold leaf kind of textured background, and
Yeah.
that is the gold colorway, so I had to stay.
Yeah.
I like it too. It's beautiful.
And then I think I have sort of a personal partiality towards darker, moodier things.
You
So
like the night one, don't
the
you? That's
night
my
one,
favorite. Yeah,
yes, the night one
I
again.
love it.
It has that same sort of that deep blue. I don't know if it's the
Mm,
same as the one that's in the Milky Way, but it's that still
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
then
the
the
colorways
but
blink.
the birds are like black feathered.
Yeah, you know what I did for that? I just went into Photoshop and I did the what do you call it? Let me just have a look because I do it all the time just to see how it works.
Uh huh.
Here we go. Invert. I just inverted design, so it just
Oh,
kind of
okay.
it just makes the colors the opposite. And
Oh,
sometimes it's like, wow, that's so amazing. And that's what I did for that particular design. I inverted it. So I think it was the gold, and I inverted it, and it created not quite those colors. I did change them, but
yeah,
the birds in like that moody, dark night scene. I'm like, oh my god, I love
yeah. Well, yeah. It turned out really great. I love it.
it. Thanks.
Um, yeah. So okay. So I'll move on to the next one.
Mhm.
Hibiscus at Double
Ah,
Bay.
yes. So Double Bay is a really beautiful suburb. It's very posh. It has beautiful um, shops and like boutiques and cafes, and it's very posh. But there's also on the little beach that it's on, so it's only like three bays out from the CBD. So you get on one of those ferries that take you into the city
Mm-hmm.
over the harbour. But just in there's this little bay that my kids absolutely love, especially when it's high tide because it just looks aqua. And it's flat and they just run up and down the bay. And along there, stunning houses, like everyone you just wish you could
Uh
live
huh.
in it. But they have like the beautiful gardens, and one of them are these hibiscus flowers. And my kids just love them. And I said, you can't pick them because they just curl up and die straight away. It's such a waste. They
Yeah.
just love them. But there's also in the playground there, it's an Australian hibiscus tree, native hibiscus tree. And the flowers are more simple, but they're really beautiful. And that kind of just made me open up my eyes to the hibiscus flower. Like I've never liked the hibiscus because we just think about like the Hawaiian t-shirts and so hard to get out of that mindset. But just seeing them around our neighborhood, like walking up streets, drop the kids off at school, is another one that was just gorgeous. And
Mm-hmm.
like that's just so beautiful. I have to take a photo. And I thought I really want to make a floral that has that kind of tropical feeling that Sydney has. Um, I thought, what can I do? It's different. I thought, I've got to use those beautiful hibiscus flowers and see if I challenge myself, see if I can do a floral that's not distasteful, that works with the hibiscus. And I like the end result. It's the leaves, I put palm leaves in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I put frangipanis because they're everywhere in Sydney, frangipanis. But I kind of think the end result, the pattern repeats with the palms. You see it in large scale, it almost looks like a sea creature
Hmm.
swimming up the wall. It's unusual. But yeah, that's the end result. See,
I
there's
love
a lot of
the
colorways in that.
yeah. That's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven colorways of this one.
Yeah.
What really popped to me was the I don't know what you call like the center of the flower, but there's the ones that are sort of like the green backgrounds, but the really deep red center of the flower.
Yeah, yeah. So I
I don't
think
know,
the
something about
green
that.
one, yeah, you like the red, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's what they look like in real life. That red, and it really pops.
yeah.
But then in some colorways, I replace it with yellow to make it more soft and kind of beachy, I guess. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
seen a nice, beautiful beach house.
Yeah,
I also did like I paired some colors down with a khaki colorway I quite like. It's quite moody.
yeah.
So yeah.
On the Wall is brought to you by Milton King, the trusted partner for exquisitely crafted luxury wall coverings. Milton King's trade program is designed to make your creative process seamless, providing special trade-only benefits including complimentary sampling, early access to new collections, and exclusive pricing structured to enhance your business success. To assist with your projects, you'll have the flexibility to curate your own custom swatch book, tailored specifically to your design needs. With dedicated customer support every step of the way, our trade program is here to elevate your design vision and simplify your journey from inspiration to installation. Ready to join a partner who understands your craft? Visit miltonandking.com to apply for your trade account today. Milton and King, your vision, our craftsmanship.
But yeah, I think my favorite colorways are the mandarin and the green.
Yeah.
make a colorway for every taste, I guess.
What's your taste? Like if you were to pick a color of this design that would go in your either your art
In my
studio or
house,
in your house, yeah. What do you lean towards?
oh, I do like green. Green,
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved green inside. It's fresh. It's what nature is, I guess. It's kind of makes everything feel clean and new and but
Yeah.
like nature, I guess. I like to feel surrounded by nature. I
Yeah.
don't like anything that's unnatural, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes my tummy turn.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I do really like, I mean, I guess it is still green. It's the tangerine, is that? Yeah, the tangerine. I really like that colorway because it's kind of greens. It's a bit softer. It's got the yellows and tangerines in it. I'd probably pick that if I had to do them.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know where. I've got so many designs I'd love to use, but I never know where because, can't use
Yeah.
them all, can you?
No, there's only so much space, and you've got too many
Hmm.
designs now.
Yeah, exactly.
So Nick, going on to the wisteria vine.
Hmm.
You had mentioned this when you were talking about walking around Sydney. Any thoughts
Yeah.
on this one in particular?
Yeah. So this one, it's kind of like it's a painting that represents my pain, I guess, about my own wisteria. I love wisteria, and I love the way it's crazy and overtakes everything, and it's
Mm-hmm.
flowers are stunning. You walk around Sydney in spring, and probably everywhere, mostly around the world, and it's just taking over everywhere. And I'm like, I really want that to be over my front door. I want it to be my front house just draping wisteria. Anyway, I went to buy some. They didn't have the common purple one. There was this beautiful oriental one. I'm like, oh, I'll have that. It's kind of like a really beautiful white one that just drops really delicately. I'm like, that's just gorgeous. Anyway, I've had it for 8 years now at the front, and it's beautifully wrapped around the front of my house. It's
Oh
very
wow.
lush and green. Never flowers.
Huh.
So it just breaks my heart every year. I'm like, it's going to flower, it's going to flower. But it won't flower. So I've looked into it. We've done everything we can. I don't know. It's thriving. If anyone has any advice, please let me know. But
So you
I
just have
thought
a
I'm going to,
wisteria vine that doesn't want to flower.
exactly. So I kind of
Huh.
wanted to celebrate that. And this design, it's a beautiful wisteria plant. It's very oriental in its design, the
Mm-hmm.
painting technique, and it has the dragonflies through it again, and it has that textured gold leaf background. Um, but it's just I actually added flowers to see, and I didn't like them. I actually liked it better with the beautiful leaves and the delicacy of the vine itself. And so it's a wisteria vine with no flowers.
That's it's funny that it now all makes sense to me because in preparing for our discussion, I was going through the different titles and looking at real life pictures of these, and every time I look up wisteria, it
Yeah,
was
it's all the
these
purple
big
flowers.
purple
Yeah.
flowers everywhere, and I was like, why does she call this wisteria? It doesn't really
Yeah,
look like these
yeah.
wisteria that I'm seeing on Google.
Yeah,
And now that you say that, it makes so much sense.
yeah. So it's just a vine, and I love the way the leaves they kind of come out in groups, as you can see in the design, and
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I love the end result. It's kind of it's a beautiful pattern without being too. It's a floral, but it's not a floral. It's just an all
Yeah,
over organic pattern. It's a little
it
bit more simple.
flows really well. There's really
Yeah.
beautiful movement in this design.
Mhm. Yeah. I've had a really big version of that too, which looked gorgeous, but we just went with a smaller version, which is more practical. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but
what I'm
yeah.
seeing here on the images, it looks great. So you're saying you had an actual like larger scale one.
I did, yeah. It was twice the scale. It was quite beautiful, but yeah, we just went
So
with a smaller one.
what scale did you actually create the original in?
Large, really large.
Oh, so
Uh,
the original was really big, so you had to like scan it and shrink it down.
no, it was probably painted over two A1s. But then,
Okay.
like in my mind, I wanted it quite large.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't as practical as the smaller one. The smaller one does work really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I
And
think, yeah,
it looks like you probably did that inversion thing again because again, I love the night one.
yeah, I did exactly. Because it works well with the birds. I tried it again, and I matched the colors with the birds.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the night one, I think that just colorway is just really beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, that deep blue is just a gorgeous background with in the vines or a charcoal, a black, and yeah,
It makes it more masculine too. So
yeah,
if you're a woman that wants a floral, you can kind of show your husband, look, it can look masculine.
yeah.
yeah, that one did turn out beautiful. I particularly love the dragonfly in that one when it's inverted with its wings.
So is the dragonfly, that's in a few different designs, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, it's not a butterfly. It's not too pretty. It's quite an aggressive insect actually. It
Mm-hmm.
does attack, especially when it's in the water when it's its larvae stage. It eats like tadpoles and everything, but when it comes out, it's just so beautiful. And they come out all together. So the other couple of weeks ago, they were swarming my area. It
Hmm.
was unusual. I've never seen so many, but it must have been a good year for them.
Okay, we talked about the Milky Way. I'm going to skip to let's see, this is the Palm landscape design.
Mhm.
So this is a mural design.
This is a mural, and I like to, as you know, I like to work large. It's a large mural.
Yeah.
But it's actually inspired by a botanical artist called Robert Thornton. So I didn't actually paint this one. It's
Oh.
an old vintage mural,
Mm-hmm.
artwork, and I made it into a mural, which was quite difficult to put into a seamless repeat. And I added different bits and pieces too to make that repeat work. It's not just all that one picture. So it's layers of different things that I've used. They were also vintage illustrations from other like artists that were in. I think Robert Thornton was 1800s, so it's
Mm-hmm.
quite old. But it reminded me of Sydney and how like the landscape it's actually changing a bit from when I grew up. Sydney, well, I actually grew up in Newcastle. I never thought of it as tropical at all.
Hmm.
But as an adult now, there are birds moving down the coast from Queensland, like rainbow lorikeets, that are now, when I open up my bedroom window, they're singing out my window. I feel like I'm on holidays. We have beautiful palms popping up everywhere. Bird of paradise is doing really well. So I just feel like I'm in more of a tropical city than what I grew up in. Everything's slightly changing. I don't know if it's global warming, but it's definitely hotter than I remember as a child, and the humidity's stronger. So I kind of wanted to capture that in a landscape that, my landscape is changing, and I see Sydney as more of a tropical city these days. And it
Yeah.
also reminds me of when I was a child on a school camp. I went to a stoner school, so the school camps were quite full on. We were in the bush in the heat of summer with cicadas screaming loud, and it was a couple of days we'd be in deep bush, extremely hot and sweaty. If we came to like a water age where I had to swim, but it was quite visually beautiful, the walks, but they were very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember coming across the Hawkesbury River, and there was an open space, and all of a sudden all these palm trees out of nowhere, like they just looked so out of place. It was like a little tropical oasis, and that I never ever forgot that. And it was funny, I was actually talking to my oldest friend who I went to school with just the other day, and she said, I remember that too, Beth. And I thought it was only me, but she remembers it too, that beautiful hot day and just coming towards the water's edge and seeing these palm trees. It just looks so out of place.
Hmm.
It's just beautiful, and that's what this landscape reminded me of. So I just had to use it. And knowing how well my other landscapes were received, I thought I have to do another landscape with palms in it. So
Yeah.
that's where this one came from.
That's great. And so this is just I think it's just one color, right? Or is it oh
It's
there's
just, yeah, I think, yeah, just one colorway.
yes, it's just the one
Yeah,
mural.
yeah. I
It's
couldn't really
very
change the colors in this. It was just green and luscious. And
yeah,
in black and white, it didn't really work, I think, because it was so tonal.
right. Yeah, it's
It
very
was all,
lush.
yeah.
But it
I
still
thought,
has that I don't know what you call it, like the aged look to it.
yeah, yeah. I love that age look. It's something that, I mean, it's 1800s painting, so it is
Mm.
naturally aged. I didn't have to do anything to make it look old. It
Yeah.
already had that. That's what I loved about it. So yeah,
So
that's
how did you actually go about using the original? What did you
well, I found that online too,
uh-huh.
and it just sung to me. But he put a little cupid in it. I'm like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, I have to get rid of that. It was this cupid baby with shooting something in the distance. I'm like, yeah, I have to get rid of that. So I photoshopped him out,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to put it in repeat, which you have to get the picture and then repeat that picture and then line it up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's just no way you can do it. Like I have some pictures, like I have like a design called The Hunt, and it's a scarf and it's a bag, but I can't make it into a wallpaper because it just won't repeat. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
The tree's too large and I couldn't make it repeat in any way. But this one I could, and I was so happy that I could. But I had to put new plants in from other like old files that I have, just to make it flow beautifully and not be able to see any faults in the repeat. So
Yeah.
it took a while, but I love the end result.
Yeah.
I had it in my house actually for a little while to do a shoot.
Oh, really?
And
Like you had
I
the
really,
wallpaper up on the wall?
yeah, I just had it like stuck up for a shoot. And I'm like,
Oh.
oh my God, because we're going to renovate. So we're going to like get rid of the back of the house and redo it. I thought, oh, if I could just get the other pieces to make the full wall, I'd love it because it's so lush and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But it fell off and it crushed. So I couldn't put it back up. But it would have looked so beautiful. But yeah.
So
That's
this
one
is,
that I probably would have in my home because it
I was
is
just
all
going to say that.
green and lush. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
And
the
it's
design
indoor,
that Bethany would have
outdoor.
in her house.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked really beautiful in a bedroom. Actually, you just feel like you're on holidays in your bedroom with white linen and dark wood bed head. It looked gorgeous.
Yeah, I could totally see that. You did one that's called The Race at Hyde Park.
Yeah, now that was a puzzle. Let me just go into that one while we talk about it.
Yeah, which is it's available in 3 colors: a beige,
Yeah, this
indigo,
one I
and
managed.
original.
Yeah. So this one started off. I found this file of these old horse races, like these men on these old buggies, I guess they would have called them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love the pops of orange and the beautiful jewel tones of their coats. And of course, it being like an old vintage file, I just loved it. So how can I get these guys into a mural? And I almost stopped doing it. Like it was too many bits and pieces put together. But every time I reopened it, I'm like, I can't give up on this. And it started to remind me of the parks in Sydney, the really big ones like Centennial Park, Hyde Park. So I thought, oh, I can, make a wallpaper based around like the early stages of Sydney, back when there was only horse and buggy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that Hyde Park, they actually had horse races in that park. I'm like, how perfect is that? That's where they used to all meet together and socialize, and that's literally in the CBD, that park as well. And they used to like race each other with their little horses and that. So I thought that's just perfect. But I thought, what else I'm going to do is make it look like old Sydney, which by using old illustrations of Sydney that was sent back to England to entice people to move to Sydney. That were a little bit more English-scape than probably what we would think of Australian-scape, but I think that was to entice them. But it worked really beautifully in the backgrounds, and I put some beautiful lakes in the backgrounds and tropical plants that I see more of today, different types of palm trees, other flowers and flora. So it was all old, like 1800s, 1900s botanical illustrations.
Wow.
All cut down, photoshopped, cleaned up, and layered. And it just took me ages, even just to do the sky, to match the clouds and there's like probably 4 different files of clouds in there, but you wouldn't, hopefully no one could tell. But yeah, it took a long time.
So I'd be curious to know, like, so from the beginning of starting this piece to finishing it, how long did that actually take to put all that together?
I probably had it, because I just do it. I don't just work on one design from beginning to end with nothing else. I work on lots of different things at the same time. And also having 3 kids, I can work when I can. I don't work full time like a normal person.
Yeah.
It probably took 9-10 months of just sitting there and working on it again and again. Yeah, and like just putting it aside thinking it's not working, and then coming back to it thinking, no, I have to make it work. So, I mean, the horses and that, it might never be for everyone, but I just love the way they're running through the scene.
And I love those big old wheels on the
the ones that are orange. I love the pop of orange with the green background. And so, yeah, that's been on some tote bags as well, that one, and some silk scarves.
Yeah, I saw it on the tote bag.
Quite popular.
I was like, oh, that would be great. Match your tote bag with your wall mural.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was quite popular. So I hope the mural is popular.
Yeah, no, I think people are going to love it. Wow, 9 or 10 months. So that's going to it and then working on some other some other pieces and
Yeah,
going back and
yeah,
forth. Wow.
exactly. Yeah, that's right. It can take a while, but I
Yeah.
guess they're worth it in the end.
Was it
Some don't
was
take that long. Like the hibiscus wasn't too long.
hmm
Like it was, I had to hand paint everything, cut it out, and layer it. But this one, sometimes not painting it yourself can actually take a lot longer. But I
yeah.
couldn't hand paint all that. Like that would take me a year to hand paint it,
Yeah.
and it probably still wouldn't look as good. So
Well, for something that is from appearances, I won't say that it is more simple, but from appearances more simple, like the wisteria vine. How
yeah,
long does something like that take for you to do?
that didn't take too long. That one. I actually created it for a client, and it wasn't her style. I'm like, well, I'll have it. So I took it on, took the flowers out, and I made it more my style. And I'm like, yeah, it was just, I liked it because it is more simple and elegant. And they
Yeah.
probably took me a week to draw up and then paint, put into Photoshop. The repeat took a bit longer, and then choosing colors and making sure that all worked took a couple more weeks on top of that. So,
Hmm.
but not full time, obviously. That's like
Yeah.
doing bits and pieces. But yeah, sometimes getting the repeat perfect can be really difficult as well. Not just the repeat, but lining up the pixels.
hmm
Sometimes you think they're perfect, then you go to put them in repeat, and there's like just one line of pixels out, and you have to fix it. Then you have to do that
hmm
all across all the designs. So it's not all fun and games and pretty work. It's
Right.
technical as well, and it can take a long time.
Tedious technical stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Ones that you think you wish you had an assistant to work on for you.
One day you
One
may.
day.
Well, that brings me to the last design in this group called Botanical Gardens.
Yes.
Now, this one does look like a completely different style of art.
Mhm.
Like it almost looks like an impressionist painting in some ways.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. What can you say
So,
about this one?
well, these once again are old, a beautiful botanical illustrator from Vienna, and I came across them on I think it was Raw Pixels, and I'm like, oh, it really reminds me of my time living in Melbourne actually during COVID, of the botanical gardens. And here we have the most beautiful botanical gardens to look over the harbour. So I kind of wanted to embrace those beautiful gardens that are man-made. They're not natural, but it's just a beautiful place to escape. They were kind of like our relief during COVID. Like we could get away in a beautiful landscape, feel like everything's normal because people could easily walk around still in the botanical gardens.
hmm
Everything was the kids could run around on their bikes, and it was our escape from the house. And I love this picture. Well, I think there was like four of them, and I grabbed bits and pieces that I loved from them and layered them again. And once again, it was a very difficult process of layering them. Um, Once again, the palms. I love the palms coming out of them, and the colours that are used, the beautiful ochres with the pinks in the Venetian people that are in it, that are probably from the 1800s, that are sitting around, and the beautiful pops of blue in the men's coats, and there's beautiful like lilac in some of the plants that pops with the ochres and the greens, and it's a lot more feminine. It's a really pretty botanical mural that I can see in like a beautiful bedroom as well, or like more of a feminine style home.
hmm
Unlike the other murals are quite masculine. This one's soft and pretty. I really love it.
Yeah. Is this also when you would say that you would find a place in your own home that you'd be wanting?
Yeah, yeah, probably a bedroom, probably my
Yeah.
bedroom. It'd be quite pretty, or a little girl's room would be gorgeous.
I could
Really
see that.
pretty in a little girl's room. I think the fact that it has a little girl in the background as well, or a couple of little children, it would look really nice, really special.
Yeah. So this is on a
And
3-panel mural that
I
repeats.
think so. Yeah, that is a three panel. It's not as big as the other ones. It's just a
hmm
three panel. But it also was really tedious doing
Yeah.
really hard. But it worked out finally. I had to put the trees down the bottom of the mural popping up as well. So kind of cut off. It's just like the tops of the treescapes. So you kind of look like you're
Ah.
looking slightly from above and into their
Yeah, I
little
see that
worlds
now that you
within.
say that.
Mm.
Yeah. I didn't actually notice the treetop from the bottom there. But yeah, I can
Yeah,
see that
I
now.
tried to make it in an all over repeat and it just wasn't special. So I had to make it into a
hmm
mural. But making it into a mural with all that footpath down the bottom, it was just a bit ugly. So I put the treescape down the bottom. that's up the top as well. But it just kind of softened it, and I think it worked really well in the end.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous design. It wraps up a group of 8 beautiful designs all together. It's a great collection.
Thank you. It's been a long time in making, so I'm excited to finally launch another collection.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think you should probably get some sort of kickback from Sydney tourist people, because I think you're going to have a lot of people wanting to come visit Sydney after looking at
Uh,
this collection.
I hope so. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful city. Like I travel around the world, and we may not have like the history of other cities in Europe, but oh, the landscape, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it in the world.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast to talk about this new collection. We're really excited about it.
Thanks, Chris. It's always talking to you.